Guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is Fighting Spirit Mania. 6th set, first game between Bonyth and Dewalt. Upper right corner, we got Bonyth starting as the Peach Protoss. Bottom right corner, we got Dewalt starting as the Green Protoss. You know the map. It's in the title. And I gotta say, we haven't seen a lot of mirror builds. And we haven't seen... I'm trying to think whether we've seen a match thus far where... Despite we're very deep in the tournament at this stage. I mean, 6 sets in, holy cow. I'm curious if any of the other portions of the tournament ended up going to 6 sets or not. But regardless, I don't think we've had a repeat match or where it's played out precisely the same in any of these. I'm trying to think if we've had a similar build order across the board where it's been like the same build order from both players to a prior match and having it play out the same, which is astounding and maybe a testament to StarCraft itself. Even within PvP. Like, usually you'll see some, like, between this many games, you'll see some kind of stale stuff happen, but it's just been fresh and spicy, it feels like, all the way around. Looks like we were potentially seeing another 2-gate here for Bonyth. Hopefully that doesn't start now, we'll see. Knowing that Bonyth is setting up for a potential 2-gate, I'm expecting him to go for that cross-map scout. I'm not sure whether he's going to go bottom right or top left in response, but in the meantime, Dewalt has opened up Gateway Assimilator. We'll see if he goes that initial defensive zealot. That tends to make it a little bit easier. We also know that Dewalt has that secondary build up his sleeve that he pulls out on occasion, where he throws out the the additional pylon 3 zealots and a little bit delayed gas. That's obvious. That's not happening here, clearly, because he's got that assimilator up and running. Although I suppose he could delay some probes. I wonder if there's a world where you put probes in gas, pull them off gas, sneak them back in. Some sort of build along those lines. Also, I remember like way back in like 2010 era, I wanted to experiment with an assimilator first build, trying it on Python. Does not work. I have not figured out a way to make that in any way an advantage. The theory was, oh, you could end up with more gas and therefore more dragoons maybe. But anyway, initial 3 zealots. Are we going to see... We've seen it basically 3 zealots and assimilator across the board. Probe holding short right this second. It looks like it is going to be an assimilator in between the additional zealots. Additional pylon before... Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a zealot pylon dragoon in the meantime. And we do have a probe nearby. And I'm not sure if he got... Yeah, he saw, moved up, saw the pylon, so knew that his opponent was going for that 3 zealot. And I'm just going to go ahead and let it go through and then sneak the probe in. I like sometimes when the probe sits there and attacks the pylon. Looks like a second pylon's been dropped actually in anticipation of that. Also curious if there's going to be on a defensive manor pylon, although I think it's a little bit more risky to pull off for a number of reasons. So Dragoon and Zealot out, currently waiting. Probe on probe violence in Bonyth's main. A second probe coming out to make sure that's a victory kill there. And the Dragoon now in position alongside, getting some of that damage done. Probe also over the edge to add a little bit of DPS. That Zealot able to get a good shield battery recharge. The Probe gonna get picked off. Second Dragoon's gonna be out shortly. But right now, only 1 Zealot taken out, and 2 Zealots are open in the base. However, they're up against 2 healthy Dragoons. The Dragoon's stuttering and not getting a good fire off there. Gonna try to back off, push these Dragoons back. And we actually, for the first time, have a second wave of Zealots making their way in. So an actual 5 Zealot dedication, and this is going to be a problem for Bonyth because that's going to be a lot later Dragoons, and that means he's going to need to get a lot of probe kills right here, but definitely going to catch Dewalt somewhat off guard, able to at least get a probe kill there on the probe line, on the gas line I should say, and he's got a Dragoon kill as well, which is fantastic. The probes trying to defend themselves with a nice worker drill. Dewalt taking 2 probes, but honestly, I don't know that... Okay, you got 3 there, but I don't know that was worth it with the 5 Zealot dedication, because this is... And we'll see if Dewalt decides to get aggressive with the Dragoon, knowing that it was 5, because he's going to have 5 Dragoons out fairly rapidly. I tried to do some calculations as far as distance to distance, and I think it's about 12 seconds, 12 to 15 seconds, depending on the unit. So I don't know that these 4 Dragoons are going to be able to get anything, but with the second gateway plop down, what Dewalt should be able to do, particularly with much accelerated range, is potentially block out that natural expansion for an expanded period of time. Not if he does that and forwards that Dragoon a little bit too far forward, though. So 4 Dragoons potentially going to be out. So there's 4 versus 3 on the low ground, but with another wave, maybe Dewalt can press into this. But right now, with 4 versus 3, Bonyth going for the counter pressure. Dewalt going to have range much earlier, but it's really hard in an open field to make that work. And it looks like, is he going to hit a second volley? Very weakened Dragoon now is going to be, yeah, pushed back up. And he's also going for a 3-gate behind this. So shield battery does keep that Dragoon alive. So at the end, Bonyth holds, oops, did not mean to do that, holds a 3-worker lead. We got 3-gate pressure. Bonyth, I think, going to expand behind the 3-gate, which is somewhat unusual. Dewalt right now holding the low ground, but I missed this. He went Dark Templar in the meantime. And we do not have an observatory behind this. It's going to, ooh, that might be game. It's going to take a considerable amount of time, and Dewalt actually pressing forward and exposing his troops to make sure that there's a fight here. Although that might have been a misstep, because now, with the 3-gate amount of Dragoons, he might have to keep that Dark Templar at home base to provide sufficient defense to stay alive. So you now holding the ramp, takes about a minute and a half to get observers out. So Bonyth now knows, yeah, he's going to drop a forge to try to get that detection. That is going to shut. So one of the Dark Templar are making their way out. This one can just hold the ramp. He's going to make his way up to that natural expansion. He might be able, there's no pylon down here as of yet. That first oh yeah, canceling the Nexus. Very wise on Bonyth's part. Dropping a shield battery of his own to make sure that he can buy himself some time. Forge is finished. Crazy match right here. Dewalt going to plop down his Nexus, knowing that he has map control. In between, a photon cannon already starting to morph towards the main. Photon cannon also being built along the gateway line. In this instance, it looks like he does have enough to potentially blockade. Well, we'll see if he can. This probe might be necessary here. Additional forge drop to plug the front here. Dark Templar, is he going to get that cannon? Oh, that would be huge. So gets one cannon, but a second cannon looks like it's going to complete. And so there's still a tack of resources that are going to be taken out on this side of the map, and more Dark Templar are flooding in. And at a certain point, without detection support, the Dark Templar can swarm cannons if there's not enough around them. And there's a lot of Dragoons now that are also exposed. So Dewalt, having a field day, also going for the inverted ramp block. Looks like we do have that observatory kicking in. Some Dragoons just being hunted out in the field. Bonyth now in the red. Some gateways being assaulted. Dragoons exchanging fire. And some additional troops making their way up with that Dark Templar support. So unpowered shield battery going to get wiped out. A gateway wiped out. The Dark Templar, one of them is damaged but still survives, is going to continue to work on that shield battery. But now a supply lead, a worker lead, and a natural expansion secured. Did a Dark Templar make it? A Dark Templar did make his way to the upper right-hand corner, is going to be pressed back. The Observer, and now Bonyth in not the best position. He's got an Observer. He's got 7 Dragoons and needs to make it work with that. And in the meantime, I think we've got at least that and healthy on the opposite side of the map. Although, and it's 4-gate versus 3-gate, no expansion. This is certainly Dewalt's game to lose. Bonyth actually has to dedicate these troops and just hope, absolutely hope, that somehow he can get a positional advantage out of this. Bonyth, since he's got a forge, is going for +1 weapons anyway, losing a few free Dragoons. I'm not sure why that was so hard to say right that second. Dark Templar was taken out, but now might need to cancel that Nexus once again. Yeah, canceling the Nexus on the follow-up. Is getting a shuttle. Dewalt, in the meantime, just a little bit concerned about counter DTs, so he's going ahead and getting a couple of his cannons of his own up. He's got a 4-worker lead, is got superior base production. The Observer going to, at least it's a visual advantage briefly. And Dewalt continuing to apply pressure. He's wants to end this, or at least get eyes potentially in what's happening. And the misfire rate, not to his advantage thus far. 5 versus 6 and dwindling. Now 3 versus 5, but we got another round of Dragoons about to pop out. But at the very least, Dewalt able to get on the high ground and see what's here. The 2 cannons will even things up. Are they going to be able to take out that gateway? I did not realize that Dragoons shredded buildings so rapidly. Look at that. The Dragoons stepping in to salvage. And because 2 of them were weakened, probably because in between that fight, another gateway going to get taken out. So now, Dewalt continuing to apply that pressure. Looks like he got a little bit distracted in a macro cycle right there, but another round of Dragoons making their way up. This has certainly got to be GG right here, right? The Dragoons just have to walk up, and that effectively will be match. Yeah, that's GG. And there's a single pylon trying to defend a lot of this. The cannon, once this cannon's down, after a very quick volley, yeah, there's not going to be a lot to defend what's left. The Reaver trying to press forward and defend out of this. So Bonyth is going to keep himself... Bonyth trying to... this is one of those situations where I think he's just trying to wear Dewalt out over the long term, because certainly he's lost this match. But he's going to make himself an absolute pain for a protracted period of time to stave off the inevitable. Dewalt, in the meantime, looks like he's maybe going to go... He could go for a third Nexus at this stage. Getting a Reaver of his own. Right now, he's down a Reaver. Briefly. +1 weapons is now finished for Bonyth. Dropping... Going up to... so what is he going up to 5-gate. I was always under the impression that 5-gate was a... That 5-gate in a robotics was not product. I'm going to have to ask some guys at the Seattle LAN about this. I thought 4-gate in a robotics facility was maximum production off a single base. Potentially on oversaturation, maybe 5 gateways is doable with a slight bit of surplus. So keep that in mind. I'm going to trust these guys over me in this instance. So if I said that in the past, I'm going to presume that I was wrong and that you can actually just go for the 5 base or the 5-gate pump. In the meantime, a 5th gateway getting added on. There's already a robotics facility here. Still a supply lead for Dewalt. The Observer at least able to spot everything. And +1 weapons might make a difference here. We'll see. The Reaver is getting some good shots along that right-hand edge. The Reaver landing, able to dodge a bit of a shot right there. Bonyth trying to pull back and retreat back to his Reaver line. And because there was actually a larger amount of Zealots in that troop complement, Dewalt actually needing to fall back right this second. He's got another round of reinforcements near his natural expansion. Is retreating briefly. Now, going to be at that engagement point. The Dragoons eating some big fire along that edge. And that will be it for this round of Bonyth troops. Dragoons trying to focus fire that shuttle, are able to get the shuttle and the Reaver, and actually, never mind. With the second set of reinforcements, Bonyth has actually broken through, which is astounding in the cross-map fire, but this is still 1 base production versus 2 base. So theoretically, I don't know, we'll see, because sometimes the difference in gates can be all that it is, but now we got 5 Dragoons and a Reaver. Are you kidding me? Is Bonyth going to retake this? So where I thought this was a lost cause, Bonyth showing something different. 5 gateways are now up, another Dark Templar being built, a Reaver still not out, but probes taking fire at the natural, and more reinforcements crushing down for Bonyth. And he actually has the defensive attack advantage, but a Dark Templar now on the low ground. I don't see an Observer in the midst of this. Without an Observer, that's not going to be sufficient to cap. The Observer finally making its way up. Does the Reaver stay alive? That will be the big question. Yes, the Reaver remains. 4 Dragoons versus a Reaver at the natural expansion. The natural expansion effectively shut down. Bonyth actually up on workers at this stage, re-grabbing his natural in the space of this. Holy cow. What a comeback. And continuing. Reaver down. Now it is just Dragoons and a handful of Zealots. That +1 weapons, by the way, could have been a serious factor. That Reaver getting hunted down. A shuttle attempting to get built in the midst of this, but that Reaver's now gone. Shield battery working to keep that single Dragoon alive, but that Nexus, I think, is going to die before Dewalt's able to defend it. Never mind, it looks like Bonyth's going to step out momentarily. He's still got the 4 Dragoons. It's at half health. We've got a round of Dragoons out, but are they going to make it? Okay, finally getting wiped out, but all of a sudden a complete reversal in fortune. 26 workers out, for Dewalt. More workers distance mining rapidly here for Bonyth. The one thing, though, is Bonyth is mined out, and Dewalt still has a sliver of resources left at his main. 5 gateway and a robotics right this second. Holy cow. But Bonyth making a game of it, which is, I think, the exclamation point here. Another Reaver out. Still, finally, an Observer out in the field. Dewalt just, I think he might have been shocked by the amount of production that Bonyth was able to field as well. Because he's checking, he's like, okay, was there a third base out there that I missed? But apparently, 5 gateways and a robo, you can manage it. Who knew? I did not think that was possible. I thought it was 4 gate and a robo only. But maybe with a bit of worker oversaturation, that is in fact the case. Today I learned. Although I'll have to look back on I'm going to look back on this replay in between to see if there were in fact 5 Dragoons that were able to field in the meantime on the reinforcement cycles, because that'll be my curiosity. In the meantime, a defense spotting pylon there at the 12 o'clock. Observer has finally been picked off. 10 supply lead for Dewalt. I think he is still down a Reaver, though. Yeah, second Reaver out on the low ground. Worker count just about even. So, and keep in mind, +1 weapons not yet finished. A handful of Zealots and Zealot leg speed could shift that dramatically. So we got a handful of Zealots about to be produced. Once those Zealots... Oh, never mind. It looks like Dewalt doesn't, in fact, has managed to get +1 weapons in the midst of that, and I missed it. Zealot leg speed will be a sizable advantage, though. Being able to cut the distance and get on top of those Dragoons. And on top of it, when those Zealots are attacking, that just makes that +1 weapons even more effective. Observer, yeah, still checking out all the additional bases. A couple High Templar being produced from Dewalt as well. It looks like he's just got the edge. That last bit of latent minerals has given him a slight edge overall. The Observer checking the outside corner, the frame, if you will, of production here. And interesting, I also want to note that Bonyth has not grabbed that second gas to prioritize minerals a bit. Dewalt economically up. The Observer picked off. Dewalt feeling strong, moving forward. Is going to eat a big volley initially, but with Zealot leg speed finish, running in, forcing the Reavers back in their shuttles, at least initially. And the Reaver able to isolate that right-hand flank of Dragoons as well. So the Zealots occupying the Reaver, now able to get on top of the Dragoon. Is he going to be... And it looks like in the midst of this, yeah, Dewalt maintaining that supply lead, so got a good amount of damage done, lost his... Still has maintained his Reaver and is backing up, though. Still a better fight overall for Bonyth, though. I think the Zealots ended up on top of the Reaver, and Bonyth was able to micro that Reaver and get the splash damage on the Zealots. Usually, so getting him up and just staying in the shuttle, good. Sitting next to the Reaver where they just get splash shot by Reaver pellets is what I'm going to call them now instead of Scarabs. Bad. So yeah, moving up because they get shredded just rapidly, and that's a lot of supply to lose. But never mind, the Zealot's able to get a hit right there. And Dewalt moves his Reaver to behind the natural expansion to clear out all the workers. And all of a sudden, Bonyth down to just 16 workers. Reavers continuing, yeah, just have good spread shots for this Reaver as well. Some probes flooding back out. They're presenting another beautiful target. In the midst of this fight, was that a survival mechanism? I think that was a misclick. That might be a fatigue click in the midst of this. Zealot still scattered, creating some chaos. This is a period of time where Bonyth is not producing any troops. Is basically empty, and Dewalt doing a really good job of spending his minerals in the midst of this. The workers now fanning back out that the coast is clear. Shuttle gonna make its way back to home base. But Dewalt now, all of a sudden, with double the supply, which is not your typical double the supply. Typically, a double the supply at a 19-20 minute mark would be something like 200, 100, or 178 and 80 or something along those lines. In this instance, we're looking at 56 versus 29 at the 20-minute mark. 6 o'clock base getting grabbed. This has been a prolonged period of one base play, and honestly, just kind of a clinic in survival. Particularly, I gotta say, hats off to Bonyth throughout this fight, really making Dewalt work for it. More Archons morphing in. We got another set of High Templar. I do believe Psystorm may have been skipped, and we're just going to go straight to Archon in the midst of this. 6 o'clock location's getting spotted by Bonyth. He knows he needs to make a move now. And part of the problem is Dewalt does not. Dewalt can just sit back and absorb attacks, although it looks like he is going to go ahead. Well, for a second there, I thought he was going to stage forward. Currently holding. So Bonyth, at a lower supply count, at a lower worker count, now in a pressure situation where he needs to engage Dewalt. Observer making its way towards the main. Look at that empty field. Still some minerals here. I guess also thinner minerals for Dewalt at his natural expansion. Bonyth actually has more of a mineral spread to work with, only because he's had fewer probes this entire period of time. It's like, oh, he was assaulted so long that he's actually got a bank, some latent stuff to work with a little bit. Dewalt making his way out. 3 Archons morphed in the space of it. Do we have 2 Reavers? Only a single Reaver. How many Dragoons? 2 damaged Dragoons. Veterans, though. So we're going to call, even though this looks like 8, I'm going to call it 6 or 7. Because these guys are kind of like half a Dragoon right there, right? Their volleys still count as a full one. Probe moving its way forward to provide the forward scouting. Dewalt with the superior tech army. Oof, big hit along that right-hand edge. The Observer being pushed back as well. And more reinforcements making their way forward. And probes have already started mining here at the 6 o'clock. Which means Dewalt can continue this assault and make a handful of mistakes where Bonyth cannot. And I would count Bonyth out at this stage, and say this is like a GG moment, but I said that earlier too, where I'm like, there's no way Dewalt's losing this, and definitely shocked and surprised me with the comeback. 3 o'clock base checked and isolated out. I think Dewalt actually just going for a contain in this situation, saying like, go ahead and have your minerals off 1 base while I mine off 2, and continue to keep that macro lead. I can still keep producing off the gateways, where I thought 5 bases was what was off 2, but anyway. Actually, never mind. Dewalt now engaging from that right-hand corner, encapsulating the Reavers, has caught the Reavers, so the Reavers have been wiped out. Now Bonyth gonna GG. Woof! That was a crazy one. Crazy one to open up this set. Dewalt does not want to drop out. I actually didn't even get to the point where I could mention that if Dewalt loses this set, Bonyth is the champ. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Thank you for listening.